we call to order the budget hearing for the Ombudsman, and we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Ombudswoman, Conchita Carpio Morales, the overall Deputy Ombudsman, Melchor Arthur Carandang, Gerard Mosquera, Deputy Ombudsman, Rodolfo Elman, Deputy Ombudsman, Cyril Ramos, Deputy Ombudsman, Asiran Rafanan, Assistant Ombudsman, Joselito Fangon, Assistant Ombudsman, Evelyn Baliton, Assistant Ombudsman, Jennifer Manalili, Assistant Ombudsman, Wemark Ryan Laison, Assistant Ombudsman, Maribeth Padios, Assistant Ombudsman, Lailani Bernadette Cabras, Assistant Ombudsman, hindi ko makita, Marilu Mejica, ang dami palang Assistant Ombudsman. Assistant Ombudsman, Aliu Amante, Assistant Ombudsman, James Viernas, Assistant Ombudsman, and Mary Susan Guillermo, OIC Assistant Ombudsman. And of the staff of the Ombudsman, welcome to the Senate. And I don't have any senator with me here. I've had a pre-committee hearing, an agency briefing, which already gave me an idea of your needs and your resources. There's not many questions I'm going to ask since I asked it already po during the budget hearing what we had before this, but I would like to see the budget so that it's on the record also. Maybe we can skip the vision mandate, yes, since we know that already.
We'd like to concentrate on the comments on the 2015 NEP level for the Ombudsman. I think it's page 12 of our folder. The Ombudsman would like to request from both houses of Congress to provide the office additional budget of 160 million. That's Picayune as compared to the budget of others. For the following, page 12, for the following accounts offices, 10 million for confidential funds of the Ombudsman Central Office, 50 million for supplies and materials and professional services accounts for the Office of the Ombudsman Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, as well as in Muleo, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and 100 million for capital outlay for the construction of the OMB building in Mindanao. Increase in appropriation for confidential expenses is needed to fast-track the conduct of investigations and case build-up on high-profile cases, complaints. The current budget of 3 million in light of the ongoing investigations relating to grand corruption cases is no longer sufficient to support the conduct of exhaustive and extensive evidence gathering to ascertain the truth, veracity of raw data. In light of the upsurge of several scams involving all departments of the government, almost all anyway. The OMB's area sectoral regional offices and the Office of the Special Prosecutor, on the other hand, require additional funding support for supplies and materials and professional services to effectively carry out the mandate in their respective jurisdictions. With regard to the requested outlay for the construction, the technical working group constituted for the purpose is in the process of finalizing the appropriate architectural and engineering designs for the OMB building in Mindanao. In addition, the OMB would like to request anew the insertion of the special provision on the use of income, which was provided to the Office of the Ombudsman pursuant to RA number 10633 or the General Appropriations Act of 2014. That's item 4, page 767, to read as follows, quote, use of income. The Office of the Ombudsman may use the income generated from fees collected by it, subject to the conditions under the pertinent sections in the general provisions of this Act and for purposes as may be specifically authorized therein or by applicable provisions of law. Those are the comments, Your Honor, to the 215 NEP level for the Ombudsman.
Thank you, Madam Ombudsman. We note the retention of the special provision, which is already included in the 2014 budget. I don't think that would be very difficult to do that since a special provision already exists. As to the request for the capital outlay for several offices, as Vice Chair of the Appropriations Committee, I cannot solely decide on this. It would be a matter to be brought to the attention also of the Chairman and of the DBM, actually. I think it is very clear to everyone that the NEP is a president's budget, and each agency should at least try to comply with whatever is given. However, there is a way of finding other sources for this augmentation of budget. And just like I said during the budget hearing, during the agency briefing, I understand your needs for resources. I understand even the expanded role that you play, and I, if I may, commend you for the environmental audit that you are doing. I believe that last week you had gone to San Fernando City. I don't know if Deputy Ombudsman Mosquera was there, but I was told that the DNR Solid Waste Commission and Commissioner Mendoza of the COA, along with the Deputy Ombudsman, is also working together for full compliance of several environmental laws which to date are not being implemented. So, in fact, I am one with you in augmenting your budget to the full level based on your submission. I would also, if I may, kindly request your assistance because it's my third and last term. In my first term, I authored environmental laws, and up to now, many of these laws are just ignored, and people are very cavalier at the way these laws are ignored and not implemented. And one example is RA 9003, the Solid Waste Management Law, where only 20% is of LGUs around the country are implementing it. I think to provide more teeth to this 13-year-old law, we need the Ombudsman here. I understand that your office, Madam Ombudsman, has been conducting its own investigation into non-compliant LGUs. So I would understand that you would need, unless it is already part of your present budget. I hope it's not asking too much to seek your cooperation. Yes.
Ironville Ombudsman is Deputy Ombudsman Mosquera, and he is hands-on as far as the carrying out of policies is concerned. So rest assured, Madam Senator, that we will certainly assist you in your babies, quote unquote.
Simple lang po. Tatanungin ko lang po, yung ating pag-audit po ng environment at yung ating ng mga batas po natin, ito po ay nakasaad na ba ho sa ating provision ngayon sa NEP, or kailangan po ito ng amendment ng karagdagang budget? May I know?
Go ahead, Gerard.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, actually, wala po. The concept that the Honorable Ombudsman has set out to do is based on the fact na talagang gobyerno natin hindi kulang talaga sa resources. So what we sought out to do is to use the power of the stationery, as we call it. In other words, through the letters, using the letterhead of the Office of the Ombudsman, we wrote to all 1,700 or so LGUs asking them, we have a 10-year-old law, what have you done in the last 10 years to comply with said law? And we have had tremendous responses kasi nakita nila yung Ombudsman is very much interested in how they've implemented. So this is more of a promotional approach. And wala po kaming specific budgetary request for this because we try to be more efficient in promoting compliance with the law.
I think kailangan lang talaga coordination and convergence between and among agencies, hindi ba ho? Between the Ombudsman and the Commission on Audit, perhaps, and our office as a policymaker. And only if you have enough personnel to do that as well? Mm-hmm.
Well, we have not completed the personnel complement of the Office of the Ombudsman, not only because there are takers, but they are not qualified, but also because there might be already personnel in the office, but they are not still skilled to carry out their mandate. So we're trying to come up with capacity building programs in order to prepare them for the work ahead. But speaking of cooperation, you will recall that several years ago there was this Supreme Court decision directing the clearing of the Manila Bay. Unfortunately, I think that has remained a dead letter decision because it has not been implemented. So probably you will also need also the cooperation of the Supreme Court in order to execute its own decision.
You were still with the Supreme Court
That's
then,
right, that's
Madam
right,
Ombudsman.
yes.
Yes, in fact, as chairman of the Environment Committee in the Senate, I chair the, how do you say it, the environment compliance, monitoring the compliance of this Supreme Court decision. It is therefore not our duty to implement it, but I sit with Justice Presbyterio Velasco in a committee that monitors the compliance with the Supreme Court decision. And I can tell you it is very frustrating sometimes, if I may. It's a 5-year-old decision before 2010, I believe, 2008 or 2009. Agencies meet this way every 3 or 6 months with reports. And they always say, lack of resources, kasi ganito. It's frustrating. However, I'm glad you mentioned it. If you will allow it, if we may have a representative from the Ombudsman, iba ho pag meron taga-Ombudsman na nandun, para lahat po ng mga ahensya, DILG, even the water concessionaires of MWSS, Maynilad, Manila Water, there are many agencies, institutions responsible for the pollution of the almost dead Manila Bay. And if we have the Ombudsman there, unless the Ombudsman already sends a representative in the quarterly meeting in the Supreme Court, but I am not familiar if they have. May we suggest, therefore, yes.
We can volunteer because if we're not invited, I mean, it's useless also to be presenting oneself. But we can
Ano po
always
ang
drop hints.
mag-iimbita?
Drop hints. Okay.
Panaho.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Take note.
Yes, thank you. I was invited also by Justice Velasco because it is a quarterly committee. I think that's a requirement based on the decision that the Supreme Court had made. And I actually invited myself and asked, can I observe apart from the Senate hearings here? And may I therefore, with your concurrence, your permission, request him to invite the Ombudsman, the environmental, do I call you now the environmental Ombudsman? Is that such a position? To sit there, to compel our agencies to comply with the Clean Water Act. So imagine that's the Clean Water Act, and that's the 8-year-old or 7-year-old Supreme Court decision. We have the 13-year-old Solid Waste Management Law. Dalawang batas pa po yan, palang po yan. Yung Clean Air Act pa po ay 1999 at marami pa pong iba. Kaya kailangan po namin ng inyong tulong para ipatupad yung ating mga batas na yon.
Then we can always volunteer in a nice way, in a subtle way, without being, without sounding like we are so eager beaver in getting to join the committee or the group.
May I hear from the others? Perhaps this only happens once a year, and when I defend your budget in the plenary, I will be the one to speak for you. It's my first time to handle your budget. May I know what is it, since you were not all there during the agency briefing, what are the matters that you actually want me to raise or to defend in order to defend your budget adequately, sufficiently?
May I ask also our overall Deputy Ombudsman, who is at the same time our Investment Ombudsman, to speak.
Thank you.
Actually, regarding the budget, Madam Senator. Well, actually, what the Ombudsman has mentioned a while ago is all that we need for insertion in the proposed budget. But what? Well, we've been into several projects at the Office of the Ombudsman, and we've been. Although we have limited budget, we've been trying to use our budget to be more productive. We have created the Investment Ombudsman, and right now we've been coordinating with several foreign chambers of commerce. We would like to promote the Philippines as an investment haven in Asia. So we would like to make our environment, our investment environment to be clean and green. We want it to be free from corruption, clean, and we want it green. We want all processes to be moving forward, moving smoothly.
May I know whether the ombudsman is a new term, a new position? It's only now that there is. I've only heard about it now.
It's an ad hoc unit at the Office of the Ombudsman, chaired by the overall Deputy Ombudsman. It was launched just this June 2014.
We know the mandate of the investment ombudsman, apart, of course, and we support that from by generating clean and green investments. How will you be able to do that given the present resources under your budget?
We have created a unit at the Office of the Ombudsman, and it will be a good venue for the investors, foreign investors, to go to whenever they encounter any problem in the registration of their businesses. So in dealing with the different government agencies like the LGUs, the DNR, the SEC, the PESA. So they will have an agency which will take care of their problems or grievances insofar as the securing of permits and registrations are concerned.
Is there a 24/7 hotline for this? Or maybe an online...
We have not actually established a hotline, but we're planning to establish one. It's a small unit at the office. So far, we've been receiving just a few. Since June, it's about 30 requests coming from the different sectors. And there are other concerns that were being brought to us. Policy matters regarding tax measures, other curtailment of the benefits of registered enterprises at the PESA or BOI. So we've been trying to familiarize ourselves with the different concerns of the different sectors in the industry, and hopefully we could come up with a more concrete program for the investors.
Are we the only country with an investment ombudsman, or this is modeled after another country?
There is one in Korea, but it's not being called as an investment ombudsman. It's the KOTRA. It is a unit at the Ministry of Trade of Korea, which helps the investors to meet the problems of the different investors.
Is this your brainchild, Madam Ombudsman?
That there have been a lot of complaints against certain local government offices and even national government offices there, who make it difficult for them to come up with just business licenses or clearances and all that. And let me cite a particular example. Months ago, the wife of one of the assistant ombudsman, who is a partner in a restaurant business, the restaurant suffered a blackout. That was a Friday, and so they needed to have the current activated in order to meet their requirements or their contracts for the following day. So that was in the afternoon of a Friday. So they sent someone to the government, to the Quezon City government, the electrical or whichever is in charge, and they were asking for, was it 25,000? To restore the electricity. And so, word got to me that they were asking for this. And so I sent our acting chief of the resident ombudsman. He went to the city hall and complained about it and all that and all that. Well, anyway, it turned out that there was a fixer which has complicity with the officials of the city hall, and it turned out that he was just fixing for them, and I think they just paid 2,000. 2,000. Can you imagine if it were not for the fact that the ombudsman had to send an official to negotiate or to confer with the officials that they should issue the whatever license requirement in order to restore the electricity, because they had to meet their contracts for the following day. It was a Friday, remember that, and time was of the essence. But I think they were aware that they needed to have this electricity restored, and so they were asking for 25,000. That's crazy.
How many more of this
Yes,
is happening
yes,
all over
unheard.
the country?
Yes, that's
Yes.
right. And so I think the designation of the investment ombudsman should be able to lighten the problem, if at all, because as you were saying a while ago, not that we are bragging our own power but or our own authority, but it's true that if they know that it's the ombudsman who dips his or her finger into the problem, then we get a little problem solved. There's a tad of a difference if the ombudsman is the one involved in solving a problem.
That's very interesting, ma'am. And I hope that we could have a 24/7 hotline or even an email address that people can go on to. Then this would be the, kumbaga, may mother of perpetual help. Ito po ay meron pong sumbungan palagi, because I've heard about many problems, all of them big and small, from domestic investors and foreign investors. And if there is, I didn't even know, there is such an investment ombudsman, may kakatakutan ang mga tao at may susumbungan.
Yeah,
Hindi sa walang kinakatakutan dati, iba. Kayo po ay may ngipin magagawa nyo.
Oh, well, yes, fortunately we have a website, and they can always complain, send a complaint, or they can come personally to the office. But all we ask is that if they want to remain anonymous, there should at least be leads, so that we'll not be groping in the dark. Because if there are no leads, much as we'd like to intervene and seek and extend assistance, if there are no leads, then we'll have difficulty.
I was just wondering, but how do you vet it? People can also use it against each other to destroy certain firms or certain personalities or institutions. How would you vet it within the organization, within the ombudsman office?
As I said, if there are leads, then we can pursue. We can come up with a fact-finding and case build-up. But if there are no leads, then I'm sorry, we just cannot do. Given the number of problems, given the number of complaints, given the number of cases that the ombudsman has to face, it would be physically impossible for us to be going out of our way to deter. In fact, one high official was saying, "Oh, why don't you conduct lifestyle checks against this particular agency?" So we do that. But some corrupt people, most corrupt people anyway, know how to hide their assets. So they name it after some dummies and all that. So this fellow said, "Why don't you go after the dummies? It's good if we have any indication that this is a dummy. But if, as I said, we are not aware that this is a dummy, where can you seek Tom, Dick, and Harry over there to reveal that, to indicate that indeed he or she is a dummy of so much? Unless that dummy comes up openly and say, yes, I am a dummy of X and X, in which case we can start pursuing a case against this corrupt fellow."
Thank you for that. May we request that the same setup for the investment ombudsman also be made for the environmental ombudsman, or is it the same setup as well?
There is already one setup.
May we know how it is? In short, ano po ang sumbungan? Ano po ang paano po makakadulog sa inyong tanggapan ang mga tao na nangangailangan ng tulong, tinatambakan ng kanilang ilog, nabaha ang kanilang lugar dahil punong-puno ng basura ang kanilang mga esteros at kanal. You'd be surprised. These are the letters. Pinuputol ang kanilang mga puno, walang permit, hindi nila mapuntahan ng kanilang mayor o congressman, or for some reason, and then they come to us. But I cannot say, I'm sorry, wala akong magagawa, ako lawmaker lang ako, hindi ko kaya kung hulihin yung mga yon. But then there's you now, and I can refer them to you. So may I know how to go about it? I can simply refer it to you.
Go ahead, Bernard.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, yung mandato po ng Honorable Ombudsman sa Office ng Environmental Ombudsman is very specific. We are involved in the area called environmental integrity. Basically, hindi ho kami talaga yung frontline action officers because we have environmental protection officers mandated by law talaga to be the frontline officers to respond to these things. Kami po, basically, we exercise oversight over those who are mandated to be frontline officers. So, for example, if there's corruption in the environmental protection area, for example, a DNR regional director looks the other way in his region when there are acts of degradation, illegal mining, illegal logging, that's the time we come in and look. Opo. But if there's any, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's why po, ma'am, we have prepared a primer for the public so that we are also able to manage expectations. Kasi ma'am, dumidiretso sila sa amin when they come across these things. So we have to tell them upfront na, look, we have environmental protection officers that are the frontline officers. Sila yung first touch, sila yung unang lalapitan. But if they don't do their job, that's the time we come in and investigate them.
May I know if there are cases that have been filed in the Ombudsman for lapses or violations of environmental laws? Meron na ba ho?
Yes.
Can you cite a specific case? Maybe not necessarily the name, but the offense, perhaps?
Yes, ma'am. Marami pong violations ng the Solid Waste Management Act. Maintenance of illegal dump site, and so on and so forth, which is banned now under the law. So we have a number of cases along that. We have also cases involving environmental protection officers who actually coddle illegal loggers, illegal miners, or simply look the other way when it's happening right before their eyes. So, in fact, the Honorable Ombudsman has authorized our unit to maintain 100 of such cases, the highest profile, the highest value, as we call it, so that our attention is focused on really the big cases that are involved.
Do you have cases against illegal loggers who are government officials, illegal miners in...
Yes, there have been some complaints about officials in Zambales about inaction on cases involving the waste of mining companies, but they have remained under fact-finding and investigation, because you see, if, as I said, they remain anonymous, the complainants remain anonymous, it's really difficult to pursue the cases.
Thank you. I look now to your one-page comments on the NEP amendments, and the confidential funds of the central office was deleted from your budget?
No, but we want an increase. The confidential fund of the Ombudsman is now being depleted because of the several investigations that the investigators conduct all throughout the country. Given the number of scams, as I was saying a while ago, that have been spawned by all these whistleblowers' reports.
Oh, this 160 million, this is the breakdown of the additional 160, but you already have a provision for your confidential funds.
Yes, 3 million. We are given 3 million a year.
Only 3?
Yes.
Only 3 million.
Yes.
You don't have a ombudsman building in Mindanao?
Yes, they are renting. They are renting on top of a hardware store. Yes. So, as the overall Deputy Ombudsman, can we hear from the Deputy Ombudsman from Mindanao?
Good afternoon, Madam Senator. We are the only
Deputy
sectoral
Ombudsman for
office.
Mindanao.
Yes, we are the only sectoral office that do not have our own building. We're renting the entire fourth floor in Chinatown. Sa Santa Ana, Chinatown, Davao City.
Chinatown.
It's a really crowded area. Not
Conducive.
not attractive.
I know whether this request of 100 million for capital outlay was already proposed last year for the 2014 budget.
Was it? Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, Madam Senator. We requested this last time, but this was again slashed from our proposed budget, and they only gave us capital outlay of 46 million, representing our monthly amortization for the NHA lot and the funding
NHA.
Funding requirement of 6.69 million for our IT equipment. Again, we presented this to the DBM for funding. Then
This is for Mindanao.
yes, ma'am.
And you're amortizing the NHA lot.
The NHA lot is for our annex building located in Quezon City, ma'am. This is ongoing construction.
I'm referring to the request for
Mindanao.
100 million for OMB Mindanao.
Yes, ma'am. We
If
already
this is granted, I'm not certain still where this could come from. Do you already have the lot for this? And
Yes,
this 100 is for the construction
Yes, ma'am.
of the building.
We already bought the lot from GSIS, ma'am. We used our continuing appropriations, so we bought the lot last year only, ma'am.
How many years have you introduced this and it's been slashed from your budget?
For the past 10 years or so, ma'am. Yeah.
So you've been renting from the hardware for 10 years?
Yes, since 1995, Madam Chair.
Longer
We're
than 10
paying
years.
about 169 or something more than every month. 1,000.
If and when you should be building this building, so much will be spent per square meter?
Not be familiar with costs of construction in Davao City.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
It has to be investigated because perhaps a building constructed in Davao would be more expensive than a building perhaps constructed in a less urbanized city. So whatever price the building will come up to should be gauged against the current price in that particular place.
Just for the sake of probabilities, assuming the 100 is not available and a part of it could be made available, is that possible? No. It's either 100 or nothing. In short, if to start with, if it's 20, since you have the lot, you can do the first floor first. I don't know. Installment. Or maybe if the 100 can be done within a span of 2 years, you can divide it. I'm not really certain. I hope you understand. I do not hold the budget by myself. I would have to find creative means to be able to augment this.
The Assistant Ombudsman who's in charge of finance says, okay lang daw yung hulugan. Although the irony of it is that millions are wasted everywhere, elsewhere, and yet here comes the Office of the Deputy Ombudsman for Mindanao trying to carry out its mandate in earnest, and yet is living a substandard, holding office in a substandard place. I've been there, and I could see, I don't know how they're able to discharge their work with that kind of environment.
Without elevator.
I assure you, Madam Ombudsman, that I understand. And I was sitting here 2 hours ago in the COA hearing, And it's the same thing also, and I've seen pictures of how documents of COA are lodged in bodega-like structures, and how they can work also in such an environment. It's not easy. And if I had the power or the resources to help reallocate, then I would do that. All I can do now is first to listen and to work in the back room with your finance person and the LBRMO staff to be able to see how it would be possible. This request for augmentation or restoration of the budget will already be your minimum requirement, this 160, for the additional budget. It's been trimmed down already. Okay.
Sorry.
Why is there a request for extra budget for the supplies of OMB Luzon? Sino po ang OMB Luzon?
Deputy Ombudsman Mosquera.
Yes. So,
Luzon happens to be the biggest island
yes.
in the country.
Was it also
And-
cut down? Was there a provision already? Meron naman kayo for supplies and materials. This is additional.
Yes.
For inflation purposes.
Yes.
we're told.
Yes. Madam Chair, actually, ma'am, OMB Luzon was only mentioned first, but the request applies to all the units of the Office of the Ombudsman.
My mistake. I saw, wala akong salamin kanina nung nakita ko. It's to be divided equally. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao.
Maybe not necessarily because
Luzon is the biggest, yeah. But you have provisions already. This is just additional. Yes. Yes, yes. I have no more questions. I understand your need, and compared to the requests of the other agencies for amendments, this is, I think...
very modest.
Diba? Saan si Yoli Dublon? Paupuin mo dyan kasi makinig siya. Mark. Uy, Mark. Upuan mo sila, Yoli, kung saan hahanapin. Ito, naisip ko lang Kung ang pondo ng Mindanao Ombudsman ay hindi magkakaling sa Ombudsman budget, let's say sa DPWH, dahil sila magko-construct, pwede ba yun? Only if it's legally possible. In short, if they have lump sums in their budget, and DPWH will construct it anyway on land which was already purchased by the Ombudsman, would you be amenable to that? No, not possible. Mahirap.
Go ahead.
Madam Senator, we already started the bidding for the design of the building, and I think we would be facing problem or logistical setup if and when DPWH would be the one to construct the...
I was just thinking of another way, since they have lump sums which we have not identified, if we could request them to fund this portion, if it's already within their budget. No, not possible.
If everyone has that mentality, Madam, I doubt if the DPWH will agree.
Looks like there's no other senator who would want to ask you questions.
I don't know if we should thank you or we should, I don't know. Because there are no other...
How was it last year? Last year, marami. Last year, ang dami nagtanong.
No, I think there were hardly 3 or 4. I remember...
I'm by my lonesome now.
Yes,
So,
yes. Okay.
And all of you are in full force.
Yes.
Maybe, sineswerte na wala nang mahaba, wala nang maraming tanong. Yes. You just have to assist me, please, when I defend your budget in plenary. You'll be
sure.
there, yes.
We'll come in full force again.
Hindi na po kayo, madam. Nakakaya naman sa
That's
inyo.
always a justification to eat outside. Because we want to be on time, since this is scheduled at 1 o'clock, we have to be sure that given the distance from the office and the traffic in the course of coming year, so we have to come early and partake of lunch elsewhere.
Oh, have you had lunch? I was
Yes, we
waiting
had.
in the office. I was
Oh,
going
thank
to
you. If we were advised beforehand, then we would have taken lunch
Oh, naku,
without incurring violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act.
Wala naman kayo. Ang akin, pwede ba kayo magkape sa opisina ko? Nakakatuwa naman kayo. With no more questions, we would therefore move, dapat may iba mag-move, for the approval of the budget of the Office of the Ombudsman for plenary. Thank you, Madam.